Hello guys, this is Alex here. Hey, I have some great video for you here. If you want a video full of knowledge for your lean journey, please listen to my good friend Brendan Fritz. I went to visit him and his place is just out of this world. If you have a chance, visit him. Brendan and his family are just amazing people, and he's such a humble leader. He really has a heart in the right place, and he's really someone that loves to share his knowledge. And boy, are they punctual. They started right at the hour. And I can tell you, they start their routine by doing a stretching of 6 minutes around the shop. And then they go into a 3Sing mode, helped by this Kamishibai board that they've done, which is really cool. Take a look.
Find something that needs to be cleaned up, straightened, returned to standard. And then each of the Kamishibai cards, once they're done, obviously they get turned over to the green. And that way, the goal of our Kamishibai cardboard is for the core 3S tasks that we want to make sure happen every week no matter what.
And something very particular from this shop is that everyone was 100% engaged. There was no fooling around. Everybody knew the drill. It really is a symbol of when you have a routine and you never miss, this is what you get.
In the shop bathroom. So for those, they happen on certain days. And then we have a rotation for the bathrooms. That's basically if the colored magnet is on your name, you have that bathroom this week. Yep, so each of the QR codes, and this is true throughout the facility, most of the QR codes go to Gemba Docs. We print the ones that don't change very often. We do QR codes for ones that are subject to change. So like any of them that are on machinery, they're typically always just a QR code, because if we get an update and it changes something, we want to be able to not have to reprint it 10 times. So we have a private YouTube group where we'll put, some of the processes that are better for video. Hey, here's a demonstration of how to do this. So some of the QR codes go to private YouTubes. Most of them go to Gemba Docs. And then we also use them extensively for our ERP and production. So that
They've created their shop skill matrix, and this is how they use it.
our primary usage for it is actually for new people coming in, right? So if I'm new here and I need somebody just came and they have a load that they need a forklift for. Well, instead of me running around the entire shop, if I don't know who knows forklift, I can come right here. I find forklift operation. So anybody that's a 3 has been checked out by a trainer. So for forklift, there is no 1s or 2s, because you're either certified or you're not.
And the next routine, listen to this, the next routine they do after their 3Sing is 40 minutes of either cross training, which they're doing here through a reading of a book, 2-Second Lean. They read a chapter, they're discussing, they're exchanging, or they do improvements.
First, you must 3S, sweep, sort, and standardize. Very simple. Clean your facility to make it even simpler. The second thing is make one small improvement.
And you can tell here, Brendan is fully committed, doing this every day, putting his full attention, asking the right questions, challenging people. It is a true leader. The last routine takes 10 minutes, and this is just a review of production and assignment of duties for the day. It is amazing how Brendan exactly knows what's going on throughout his shop.
Getting this one built by the end of the day is going to be the highest priority. So it'll start with CNC. Chief one is not urgent, so I removed it and pushed it out a week to make room. That will start with Mike B. The first one we're going to do is the 6007-2. We'll get the back panel out of that as quickly as we can, and then the door. And then after that, we'll switch back to 6070-2. All right. Alan, you're up next.
I found it really unique that he gives out these little pads and pens, and he encourages everyone to take notes so they can come with information to their programming meeting, to their production scheduling of the day.
But it's just a real simple little notepad. It has some sticky notes on it if they need. And Melissa found these on Amazon. And like I said, they're super cheap. One of my many fun things with Lean is, as you'll see, once they're at full production, there's no rush. Nobody's running around. Nobody's.
Flow.
Yep, everybody's just quiet, focused, doing their work. We get comments on that all the time in tours of, well, it just doesn't seem like anybody's struggling. Yeah, that's by design, right? It's amazing when you give them the power. If they do struggle, just stop and fix it. Like I said, exactly the way we saw it from in the ditch.
Okay.
We have the code of what it means. So if all the lights are off, the cell's not in use. And so for us, that becomes a trigger of if groups are working together and they need tools, they can come take from tools from ones that are not green, right? So I don't want to go steal a screwdriver from that cell over there because Alan's working in the cell and that might impact him. If I need to take tools, I want to take them from somewhere that they're not currently in use, right? When people come into a new work cell to perform work, the first thing to do is do a quick scan. Hey, are all the tools here? If not, they'll go find them and help make sure that they're back. Most of the time they're here. Our goal with tools is 80%. So we want the tools for 80% of the work that'll come through. And the 20% are strategically located around the shop and in group areas that aren't used a lot. So if I'm working and everything is on track, I'm green. If we're slowed, which means I have a question, but I can continue work. So, you know, I may be at a stopping point with this particular component, but there's a bunch more components for me to do. I don't immediately pull an all stop. I go, hey, you know what? I have a question. So what we do with yellows is as people walk through the shop, if they have the headspace, ideally, if you're a yellow, 3 to 4 times an hour, somebody should come up to you. Hey, what's your question? Can I help you with that? If not, okay, I'm sorry, I can't help you. They keep going on.
And who is that person?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, yellow is a signal to the team, hey, I need help.
Okay, it's not one specific person
Correct.
dedicated to
Not
that.
at yellow, right? If either the problem I encounter results in a complete stoppage of work, so I cannot do anything else about my work, everything is stopped, production is stopped, they do red. Or if they're yellow for long enough that it now becomes a work stoppage because they got everything else done until that question gets answered, they would do the red. It has the horn. They do 4 horns, and then we do a yellow-blue combination. And so with a 4 horn and a yellow-blue, the goal is myself or Brian, the shop manager, will be there within 5 minutes. So the red is the full, hey, we pulled the line, we stopped, I need help right now. And again, it's Brian and I's responsibility within about 5 minutes to get there. Then the goal is to be there in 5. If we're not there within 10 minutes, then they do it again, just to reiterate the alarm. My office is over there. Yeah,
Okay.
My nice front office.
Your office is right there.
Yep.
So you're in Gimba.
Yes.
You're going to be able to see that.
I'm here to hear it. I'm here to see it. And then for us, our blue is waiting. So this is specifically a function of the production software that we use. So the step-by-step wiring instruction program that we use also has the ability for them to communicate and send messages to engineering right from within the production software. So if they ask a question of engineering and they send it to that group box, they turn yellow until they get the answer.
Okay.
And so what that allows me to do and Brian to do is as we're watching, if we see a cell stay blue for 2 or 3 hours, we can go up front to the engineers. I should say the goal is to stay green, but we literally constantly are asking, hey, we only got 1 red last week. What's wrong? You're allowed to stop and fix problems without alerting the problem is there.
Okay.
Right? If it's going to take more than 15 minutes, or if it's, like with that, if it's a scratch in the enclosure, it's probably a process problem way upstream. Okay, it's going to take more than 15 minutes and just his time to do it. So what he would do in that case is flag red. We would come over, have a discussion. Okay, does it warrant stopping for 30 minutes right now? Or at least get it on our 3Cs board so that we make sure we know what the problem is so it does get tackled and not just ignored.
While we were talking, Brendan was able to see a blue light at the cross of the shop, and he went just like an eagle right at the problem and tried to help to solve it.
Yes, sir. Were you yellow blue, Thad?
My yellow blue? No. That's me.
Hi.
Hi, there's no smart wire.
Okay, let's go ahead and pause. Go get it with Kyle.
I am messaging on him.
Okay, with this one being at a dead stop, I just go interrupt him is fine. And he probably just forgot to publish it. The yellow blue he was at a work stop because this job didn't get released in engineering to be in this system for him to go do this work. And I'll bet since it was the end of the day, it probably got missed and then got forgot to get checked up. But we'll follow up later in the day. We'll go check with him and, hey, what was that? And we'll find out. Back to green now that he's able to proceed because we got the problem solved. Timing, was it checklist?
That one, I'm working with Keegan trying to figure out. It was one that just, it wasn't in our schedule.
Okay.
And so that's when I was asking you how the schedule process works. So I
Yep.
didn't understand the schedule. So I'm working with Keegan to figure out why that just popped up into the schedule just recently. And
Okay.
so trying to figure out what happened there.
Yeah, so basically better visibility further in advance as a result of actually the upstream to the engineering, right? So when we were out there, we predicated that, well, maybe it just got missed as it went through the process, right? But following the chain of the problem all the way through, right? The real process is how and when the way that job was scheduled was abnormal, which led to an abnormality in the rest of the whole process. So this is the Smart Production Suite, which comes from ePlan. So it's part of the ePlan design software. This is the shop floor one. So it has the mounting of components. It has the mounting of like the duct and DIN rail components. And then step by step, it guides through the wiring. In this stage, they're going to go mount all the components. So it shows all the internal 3D. And then what they can actually do is just pick a part off the cart, scan the QR code on it, and scanning it would put the equivalent of, I'll just type in here. So they don't have to type when they're doing it. They would scan, and so it shows, hey, here's that part. Everything else
That's
disappears.
really cool.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Exactly where it needs to be done. And then, like in this case, this job I pulled up was already significantly populated. We know in this one, 221 out of 226 of these have already been put onto this panel. Our is the marriage of lean, technology, and machinery.
Yeah.
And
All
that's what this was, right? So we were really lucky we found ePlan and lean in the same month. So we don't know which one had the bigger impact, because they both have. So anything we design, build, goes through this entire process.
The standard is right here.
Yep.
You just follow the standard.
Yep, build it exactly the way this is. And so the software helps because no matter who builds it,
Yeah.
the wires are routed exactly the same way.
Right.
These are
Cool.
phenomenal.
What are they called?
They're lev rack.
Lev rack.
Yeah, the sticker's on the other side, but it's actually built about 45 minutes from here in Nebraska.
Wow. Look at that. I could move it with one finger.
Yeah, and
That's
each
really cool.
each slidable bay is 2,000 pounds. The track is up in top,
I see.
so you can see they basically attach the rack system.
Yeah.
Where you can get mezzanine, so you can have multiple layers of them up and probably.
You know, I'm even thinking we have containers. You could put these in a container
Yeah. Yeah.
and just have a walkway.
Yep. Outside.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great idea. So it's creating the wire harnesses.
Okay.
So with this particular one, we can have up to 12 different types of size of wire at one time. And then the wire through the middle there, and then it'll grab it. As it's coming through that tube, there's an inkjet printer, so it's inkjet printing the wire label on it every 2 inches. And then we can select through the file what termination process we want. We can have it just do a cut. We can have it do a cut and a strip. We can have it do a cut where it cuts only through the insulation, but it doesn't pull the slug off, so it doesn't bird cage out. Or in this, it's fully processing the wire, including putting the little ferrule connection unit on it. It's over 60% labor savings.
Okay.
So the next machine we get will have 36 wire capability, so we'll never have to touch and process the wire.
Uh-huh.
So right now, depending on the job, we might have to rechange what wires are connected to it. With the machine we're in the process of working through to get procured, it'll take 36 wires. And then the biggest thing is we are going to be the United States guinea pig, if you will. So the machine will have the capability, there'll be a series of tubes coming off of it, and the machine integrates with the production software that we have. And what'll end up happening is, on demand, as people are going through and marking wires complete, the software is telling the machine the next couple wires each technician needs, and through a series of delivery tubes, the machine will be on demand producing the wire 2 to 3 ahead of the technician as he's shoving them in. So we won't have to deal with carts, we won't have to touch the wire, any of that.
It's just to
Yeah,
clean
so
the...
all of these are in-house improvements.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So,
it's really cool.
So they came up with just running it through a binder clip. So sometimes with the barrels, it gets dust or whatever. So with this, we clean it, and then running it through these brushes takes the static off of it,
Okay.
and then it pays it into the machine, and so we don't have print. It drastically reduces the print curve. Yeah, this whole cart was the
An
series
improvement.
of lean improvements.
Wow.
Yep.
So you got all the cables on here,
Yep.
the bigger
So,
ones
so
over
the
there.
ones we use the most are in barrels. The ones that we don't use, that we use very infrequently, will pay off a reel. And so this is designed so we can pay them off. They're all right up front, organized by color. And so all they do, that way they can change the magazine that's in the machine. Design those, we 3D printed them in-house, and we made them out of conduit. And the commercially available similar ones are like $380 a piece. And we have 18 barrels of wire that we keep in stock normally, so it's a lot. And we're into these for like $25, $30. Thing, actually, we 3D printed these little
Guide.
There's taper guides.
It's just amazing the capabilities that Brendan has to see technology that he can use and the lean principles to build the culture in order to fuse those together and go ahead and eliminate the waste. And it doesn't surprise me, their lunchroom, their restrooms, everything is respectfully put in place, their standards. Wow, I love this phrase. If the customers and teammates have had a positive impact, they have had success.
Like I can tell you with absolute certainty the payback for lean is there. Can I go show you crazy metrics of every individual detail? No, because I don't care. Right, but I mean, it came up a couple of years ago. They were asking, well, how much does our lean thing cost us? More than $100,000 in payroll alone, just for the amount of time and the number of people, the number of products that we put out per head versus the industry average for what we're doing. We're 2 to 3 times what normal.
The quality.
Yeah, and it's a much higher consistency product. That people care about it, and that's one of the most magical things with lean is when you say, hey.
You give the time.
Before you do anything that makes this company direct money, before we add any value to a customer, we're going to start our day in a certain way, and we're going to make sure we're improving ourselves first so that we can improve others and have a better product down the road, right? And then it's well, so as a straight difference, within a week. Yep, there were measurable differences enough where, because my...
Can you give me an example?
Like I shared before, when I first started it, my first intention was I'm going to do this and figure out how not to give up the production time. And like you imagine, I'm grateful for my wife. She was like, hey, don't be stupid, do it. And so my agreement with her was, we'll do it for 4 weeks. Because I figured it would take a week or two just for people to understand, okay, we're doing this every morning. What is it that we're supposed to be doing? And then we'd get about 2 weeks of, hey, is this going to bite or not? And if it wasn't, then I was ready to rip the morning meeting out, and I was going to be smart and come up with a way to still get the same result without giving people the time. And like I said, I know, because I distinctly remember picking up the phone and calling my wife on the way home one day, and I go, this will be part of the company I cannot see this not ever being part of it. And it was just the cleanliness was the biggest thing for me, right? So when you get started, fortunately, most businesses are such disarray that there's a lot of cleaning to get done. That, to me, that gives you a lot of initial momentum, because it's easy for people. Once you show them to it, it's like, hey, we don't want this place to be dirty. We want your help. Let's get it cleaned, right? So you do your really most basic 3S. Let's get the place clean. Let's look at what needs improvement. Let's look at what things are hiding underneath the mess that we have. And so for me, even just you could literally feel the attitude change each day through that first week as the facility got cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. People are, whoa, okay, we want to respect this, right? And it's right out of Paul's book, and you and I share this belief heavily as you start in the bathroom, right? Our old shop bathroom, not to be grotesque, but around the toilet, the floor was yellow.
It was
stained
nasty.
That way. Right? Because it had just always been that way. It got cleaned, maybe never, right? And it was a real hellhole. And I told everybody else, hey, start cleaning. This is, gave them some primer, showed them a bunch of the YouTube videos. That's how we got it started. All right, go clean. And while they were doing that, I focused on the shop bathroom. All the way to rented a floor scrubber and sat there for hours scrubbing. And we could never get it fully white, but We got it.
Pretty much.
It was night and day within the first week
Those
of cleaning
respect.
the bathroom, right? And that, again, I believe it's Sakisho Ida. I think if I'm saying that correctly, I may be wrong, right? So it's the little things pile up,
Oh yeah.
right? And that's from Mr. Amazawa, right? They're either, if you ignore them, they're piling up against you. If you're focused on them, they're piling up for you. We were probably 6 months to where we hit our first plateau. And so I've come to learn that if you don't keep the learning going, it'll result in a plateau, right? Because inadvertently what we had trained people was cleaning was the improvement.
Yeah.
So it really took me learning more to understand improvement better, to teach improvement better, right? And so we started putting the throttle back heavy on training to get people to learn it and understand it better. And then we took back off again. In months, for the first 2 years, we kind of hit a plateau. And finally, after 3 or 4 cycles, I realized that we hit a plateau if I stopped teaching. So if I didn't keep my learning a few percent above what the general knowledge of the shop was, and intentionally spend time teaching them the more advanced concepts of lean and how to see waste in a different way, every 6 to 10 months, we would hit a plateau, intentionally spending 40 minutes every other week, just learning and going through lean concepts. And so, to me, it's a process, not a destination. So I don't know that we'll always be implementing and always be improving. What we've learned now is in a high-performing team, the worst thing you can do is tolerate somebody that isn't at the same level as everybody else. People who aren't like, oh my God, yes, I want to be part of that. That's phenomenal. They don't get a shot here. And then what we do, every new person that comes in a production role, we actually do it through a temp to hire agency. And so everybody goes through a 720-hour trial period, and it's a two-way. We're trying each other out. We finally reached the level that I didn't have to be the primary person to train everybody on lean as they came in. So right now, when we bring new people, we'll pair them with a mentor, and during morning process, they'll work together for several weeks, and then we kind of turn the people loose and see what they do. Awesome improvements come from people even in their first week, and those are the people we look at. Okay, hey, they're going to fit in. Right, on the flip side, people are coming and bringing problems, not in a tattletale way, but out of a deep perspective. They know the level that the business needs to operate at, and this is below the level, and they want to make sure that somebody knows about it so that action can be taken on it. It's a very different HR experience. Go for it.
I gotta go.
So this is the office one.
This is the office one. And I sneaked into the toilet to see if they had the standards. The toilet is really a representation of what your shop is doing and how it's operating and the level of respect that you had. And for sure, I saw standards. I saw a very identified materials visual management, crumb trails, labels, and just respect overall. This was a great example. And they showed me how they have this super fast machine with a laser that is doing all the labels for the electrical panels. It's super cool. And I met Kyle, which is doing all the engineering. He showed me the Stream Deck. He showed me one application where he saves 25 minutes by the push of a button. If that is not lean, I don't know what is.
It was a constant waste of file.
Going in.
Menu, just going back and forth, just a constant waste of motion, over processing every single time.
25 minutes of project savings, and we're doing anywhere from 7 to 15 projects a week. That's a lot.
That's a lot of savings right there. And the level of curiosity and just having fun, that spirit really goes a long way.
Have fun while learning.
You gotta have fun. Over and over, I saw the strength of this company. Brendan has the ability to see technology and how it applies and helps its people. This is really amazing. Just take a look how they're going, and each project they'll be saving from 8 to 10 hours.
And I don't know, you talk about a 2-second improvement, that'll be maybe a 2-hour improvement.
2-hour improvement.
Yeah.
Well, so tip to tail, that will result in probably somewhere around 8 to 10 hours per project of overall impact. And so really where it starts is because it's based on templates, so you're familiar with click to configure type quoting systems, right? So it's I want 3 of these, 2 of these, you basically build your options. Like if you're on a website building a car that you want to buy, right? Same thing. What it's doing is it's using all of the templates that Clancy's building now right? So I want this circuit, but I want these variables used in it this time. So I want 5 of these, 6 of these, 10 of these, 12 of these, whatever it is. 45 seconds, it spits out, you know, anywhere from 20 to 100 pages of electrical schematic. We use the skeleton that creates the electrical schematic with the full bill of material in it. Now we're taking a bill of material based on the templates and the actual variables the customer wants, clicking a few buttons, importing that to our ERP system, saying, hey, price this for me based on the last purchase price paid from the purchasing side of the world. And it just tip to tail the whole process. It's going to be 6 to 10 hours a piece. A lot of things, we have a whole team of 4 people in those Kaizen groups that are specifically focused right now on spending time each week building out more and more of the flex pipe stands and flow racks and things like that that we've brainchilded out. We need lean materials, you know, magnets and tags and Kaizen foam and things like that. It's all, you know, that's what this particular cart is primarily for on the top few shelves.
Yep.
But so down here, it's really things that we're really going to fabricate metal. So we need, you know, the chop saw, we need, you know, the little press brake and the bender, you know, the welder. There's a welder down here. You know, a small sandblaster, right? So if you're really doing more traditional fabrication.
What is very interesting is that Brendan has identified that he needed some skilled people to build some of these things that he needs. So he builds these teams, dedicating some hours a week to build and improve and help the team do their improvements that they need. And really, Brendan has totally understood that the restroom is a mirror image of your shop. And this is the place where he's teaching and sort of a temperature measurement of where the culture is in his organization. You like Gemba Docs?
We love it. Yeah, we're starting to implement the new checklist feature that they just released.
Okay.
And we're going to actually work that into several areas of the production floor. But yeah, I mean, again, it's simple, easy, and the power of it is huge.
Yeah.
Especially when you have it put it out, where I bet 95% of the people on the shop floor have it on their phone. Right, so if they find something, hey, this change, this mood, just click, I'm going to change it, a new picture, here we go, off it goes, and it's up. Yep. And then by only posting the QR codes, right, it's different, right? So
you don't have to reprint.
You know, in this case, there's a QR code of how to refill the paper towel, right? Because if you overfill, it shoves it down and you can't get it out. If you underfill, they all fall out. You know, same thing even for how to use the TP, right? And that one I believe goes to a private YouTube video versus a Gemba doc in that instance. But you know, again, it's not necessarily just for the sake of having a procedure, you know, because TP needs to be controlled, right? It's about the concept of having the bathroom be the showpiece of how you want the whole organization to be, right? We don't want there to be any struggle. We don't want there to be any ambiguity, right? So like on the toilet seat, if the toilet seat's up, hey, please return to standard. A subtle reminder, hey, close the lid is what's expected, right? The QR code at the TP, hey, the little green magnet indicates the roll in use. If you're not sure how to refill it, if you're not sure how to backstock it, it's all part of the process. And again, it's not about having that crazy control. It's about having it where they don't have to struggle.
What do I do with this number?
So all of these are telling you where on which shelf and location. Yep, so if we follow SS1 is shop shelf number 1, 5.4 is the location. We'll walk right out and I'll show you where that is. Number 1, the 5th up from the bottom. It's supposed to be the 4th, so actually we need to update that number, but here on shop shelf 1 is the refills. Our number 1 on our YouTube channel. But the biggest thing, so Hugh came up with this, and it's super simple, right? The batteries last longer if they're rotated equally, and they're constantly gone from a full charge to a low charge and then returned. So with this, it ensures that all of the batteries get cycled properly. So if I need this particular battery, I take this one and I rotate these down. That way the next person knows to take that one so that they all get equal rotation. And what's amazing with it is like this battery here was in service in February of 2018. And it's just still good. Usually these batteries only last maybe 2 years, 3 years if you're lucky, especially where they're constantly in use. Where again, just because we're having respect for it, we're treating it properly, we're charging it on a same balance. We have not thrown a battery away in probably 3 years since this improvement was made.
Wow.
Small little VFD in a panel. And they were like, hey, we need 40 of them. Can you build them? So we're like, all right. So we did what we thought was an assembly line. So we set up sawhorses, we put the 40 of them out, we made one wire, did it 40 times. We did the next thing we did, right? So we really batch processed it, right? But we thought we were doing an assembly line. And so these products, tip to tail, took about 6.5 hours for us to build the first time. We did not really make much money on them at all because they're only about $300-400 a piece. But it was kind of, the first ones we did more as a favor to the customer. We thought it was kind of a one-time deal, and then a year later they came back and we went, hey, we want 145 this time. So what's amazing with this is all we did was set up a small production cell. We did the engineering to balance the times, and we put visual cues, and we created pole base for it, and we now build these in 2.5 to 3 hours a piece. So
Wow.
over 50% time savings, still building the exact same product, but doing it in a smarter way, right? And with the limited batch size of the roll conveyor, we never find a defect more than 4 units in. Instead of, if we were batch processing them, at 140 a piece, we might do 140 of them and then have to go rework 140 of them. With this, we never rework more than 4 units, and we hardly ever have a defect because of the level we document everything to.
Brendan totally gets it. The one-piece flow concept doesn't mean it has to be one piece, but it's reducing the number so we don't have to reprocess a lot of pieces in case of a defect.
We're really learning to fall in love with wheels. So if we can
move.
put wheels on it, we try and put wheels on it, for the flexibility. Yeah. Their primary goal is to do all of the support tasks that keep the people in the cells adding value to the product, in the cell adding value. So their primary responsibility that takes the most of their days is shipping and receiving and organization of parts. So as parts come in, they'll know and they'll build these carts out. So like we have a cell that does the doors. They put in here's all the switches and everything that'll end up on the door. So they're getting the tag. These little tags with the QR codes is what gets scanned into the production system, so it shows them where on the product to put it in. So again, it's all dominoes. Each color of bin is a different category of part. So again, they understand how to coordinate the parts to what bin and how to organize the cart so that it's consistent. So when the guys who are going to now start mating and putting all these components onto the back panel, they grab this, they know exactly what order and sequence they prefer to do the cart in, they know exactly what to expect. So like this cart, the second cart over here is in a red sleeve. That tells me there's a part that's later than what we were originally told by the vendor.
Okay.
So the water spiders take care of updating the colors.
And if it's orange, it's good.
Well, if it's orange, it means nothing's late.
Okay.
So it does not have all the parts yet,
But it's
but
not
nothing is behind
that
schedule.
you know.
Yep, that nothing is, the system hasn't flagged anything was supposed to be here yesterday. Anything up to
okay.
yesterday is here. Unfortunately, supply chain still hasn't fully recovered for us.
Yeah.
So every now and then we
Yeah,
get
I
a
know
green
that
one.
one.
Every we get a green one, we throw a little party and then we build it. So if this job was up and I was going to take this cart and take it to the next cell today, I notify purchasing, hey, this job just started, and that immediately removes purchasing handcuffs. So up until start of production, there's certain spend criteria and certain vendors that we try and use. As soon as that project goes into production, the purchasing guy's authorized to spend up to $1,000 for any part on the cart that's not here to try and get it here before it hits the end. So the goal is to prioritize production over profit, both to meet customer goals and just because if it disrupts the flow and the parts are sitting here, it's worth it to get it pushed through as far as we can and to expedite. If I'm pulling this cart, when I get there, I'm at a computer, I quickly send a message to purchasing, hey, 5852-1 just started. He instantly knows, okay, handcuffs are off, I need to look at what products are missing,
Get 'em
and I
in
got to
here
do whatever it's got to
ASAP.
take to get them here within the next couple of days.
Overnight or whatever.
Yep. Hurts. It can be anywhere from a couple of hours to no more than probably 5 days, and it's out of here. Essentially, we always want to buy them from the preferred vendor that we have negotiated pricing from.
Yeah.
But as soon as that thing goes into production, price is no longer the primary motivator. It's
Right.
what do we got to do to get it done? So now we're still looking for the same part, but we expand the reach of who we're looking at it from.
Okay.
So blue is 24 volt relays. Red is 120 volt relays. So with that, the products look very similar, but if you get them mix and match, they arc and they flash and they're toast. So it's very critical to keep them segregated. So typically the circuits of DC are wired in blue wire and the circuits of 110 are wired in red. The clear bins are always the terminal blocks that have been picked. The yellow is terminal block accessories. The white is loose hardware or loose components, so this is like a little switch. In the black is going to be heaters, fuses, and little switches. Then the green is going to be our grounding blocks. You go in the next step and they know the cart, they know those colors, boom, 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 this is what I want to do. And then the bottoms of the cart are all of the rest of the components. So anything that's on this top shelf is going to end up, if it's on the door, it gets put in the blue tote. And then these are things that are going to mount exterior to the enclosure. So these back 2x4s are for the long DIN rail and the duct. So they stick it on there instead of having to flaggle it around. Or an improvement that Mike, our CNC operator, made. So once he's done with the back panel that all these components are going to mate to, as long as it's small enough, he puts it right on the cart. And then there's a chain. He'll rope the chain around to hold it on. So now when they go to get and start, instead of them having to pull the cart, walk all the way over there, grab their back panel, and then come all the way back over here, they just take the cart, it's got the back panel that they need already on it, and they just go 10 feet down to the next step and get started.
Got it.
And flip it off the ring so that it doesn't fall out. And on these, we know we reorder at a box. So as soon as the box is empty, they take the card, put the whole card, and then now it comes back, and then all they got to do is clip it onto the binder ring. So the Kanban system, again, it's Gemba dock-based Kanban cards. So we're not true two-bin. We're one and a kind of, sort of. But this is what gets used. So once the Kanban card, once all these are gone, and I would have to go behind the Kanban card gets pulled. So we do 3 different colors. So we have yellow, green, and blue. Yellow means you. So in this case, if I'm the one that used these and I encountered this card, it's my responsibility to go to shelf 2664, take a box.
You meaning the person in the cell.
Whoever encountered the card.
Encountered the card.
Yep.
Okay.
So
the last
as
one
we're going through, yep. So if I'm doing this task and there's one left, I can put this back.
Okay.
If there's none left before the divider, I hit the card and then I can keep going. I dump the bag in, but now before I leave this work area, it's my responsibility, because this is yellow, to refill this.
Okay.
And so you have the location 2664, which we'll follow in a second. And it gives you the part number, who we buy it from. Hey, this is an open stock refill, and we're going to take a box of 100, and we're going to put 25 behind in safety from the box we pick. And then what'll happen, this will domino to one of a green card, and we'll show that. So it's 2664 for 1393.
And that is a yellow Kanban card.
Yep, so we print it on yellow paper. So then if we go to 2663, so we have shelf 26, the sixth shelf up, spot number 3, 2663. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2664 was the number, because it was 1393. So here's our box of them. I would take the whole box of 100, because that other Kanban card told me to pick 100. I'm going to take one bag of 25, stick it behind, and then I'm going to dump the rest of them in the front of the bin. And then in this case, because I grabbed this from right here, you can see the green Kanban card. Green Kanban card is the supplier reorder point. So because when I picked it, I exposed the card, it's now my secondary responsibility. I take this, and across the aisle way over there by that Ondan light, there's an orange Kanban card tag. It's my responsibility to go drop that in there. And then purchasing comes through and monitors the pickup locations, orders them. Once the product's ordered, the Kanban card comes to the water spiders, and as the product comes in, the Kanban cards tell the water spiders where to put them, and it just keeps moving. Doing anything that physically changes an area, I have to get myself and 3 people. So I have to have myself, who had the idea. I have to have the total owner of the area involved. I have to get the person who is responsible for putting it the way it currently is, and then at least one other person who routinely works in that cell. Now the 4 of us all sit down and, all right, this is the change I'm proposing. Is this, does anybody see any problems with it, right? We do a much more in-depth analysis instead of, otherwise it ends up, hey, person A likes this box knife hanging here. Well, person B prefers it on a magnet over there.
Yeah.
Right? So one guy improves it to put it where they want it. The next person improves it to where they want it. The next person puts it back in their area.
Back and forth.
Right? So in that, it would be physically changing, because they'd have to remove this screw to relocate the hook. Because we're now physically changing an area, I need to go find some friends, and we're going to make sure that we document what's the best. And twice a week, they get 40 minutes of self-directed improvement time. We end each of those with, we go to where the production board is, we round up, everybody quickly one-off goes, what was the improvement I'm working on? Which of the 8 wastes was it targeting? And what's the status of it? So we get instant Yokoten.
Me, I like lean. Makes it for a better work experience here when everybody's on the same page, you know. And oh, absolutely. And you know, just improving things even just by 2 seconds is always, you know, pretty great too. I mean, even this was an improvement. That was an improvement. Before we just had to scan these and we'd have to get this whole big old thing to Keegan up front, and even just getting the scanner saved us at least, I don't know, 2 seconds, 3 seconds,
Awesome.
a couple minutes. So
Component, and then he's using the software. So he had this large device here is what he scanned and typed in. So it showed him graphically where to put it on.
Okay.
And then he was able to mark it. And then it also gives him the tag. So this one is RFI 112 is the component tag. So he knows to take the RFI 112. He took his, make sure it's clean, and he puts the tag right where it belongs.
Yeah.
So many. I mean, a couple of gizmos I've made from lower decks to the schools. Probably just the overall organization and re-layout of the process.
Okay.
Do you have any hobbies?
I dabble in RC cars.
You do what now?
I dabble in RC cars.
RC cars?
Fifth scales are about that big
Okay.
and have a weed whacker motor in them.
Ah, okay. All right. Because the reason I ask is when I see that you're very creative, every time I ask if they have a hobby, they have some kind of craft hobby at home that make them to want to go do improvements in the shop every single time.
That's cool.
So don't forget that in your interviews.
Yeah.
And how come this is not in wheels? All carts are in wheels except this one.
So this one is actually the pallet. So we're preserving the pallet it came in on to ship it back out.
Okay.
So what he did here is he took it from the supermarket. So the CNC put all the holes into it. So what he's doing is he's using, like if we go to the other side here, you'll be able to see it. So in this case, this is a customer design panel, so he doesn't get the fancy software. So he has a reference that shows, so he's putting all the cable glands and plugs and everything in preparation to put this back panel into it. So what we've found is versus over-processing the skids, to have to build special carts to hold the full enclosures at the weights they are, it's easier to have a fleet of pallet jacks, let them stay, and then now with this, it comes off of this when it goes into the CNC machine. It immediately gets put back onto it. It goes to the supermarket. It comes here, finish line, where it gets laid back. The component gets put in, they get put back in, and then it finishes life on the skid that it's going to get put out. So we don't have to then reprocess it, pick it, put it onto a shipping pallet. It's on the shipping pallet from day one, and the fleet of, I think we have like, for a fairly small shop, I think we have 6 pallet jacks floating around. It's so that they have them ready to go because they don't have wheels, because it's actually better for the process for it to, it's less movement and motion for us to just keep it on what it's going to ship out. And now there's no ambiguity of whether it's rated for it, if it's the right size, because it's what the vendor we bought the enclosure sent it to us on. So we're also reusing it and not wasting where we're having to buy all kinds of pallets, because I mean, we do anywhere from 5 to 7 projects a week of this size. You know, pallets that size and that stability for weight rating, it probably cost us $30-40 a piece. So I mean, that's a lot of money we're saving just by reusing what came in.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Alan. We actually put the screw in from the back, and on the back we tack weld 2 sides to make it a stud. So that way, as if the customer is removing the VFD that goes in this probably weighs 80-90 pounds. If it ever fails, when they go to pull it off, they don't take the nuts out and hear everything drop to the bottom and have to take this whole panel out. It's on studs so that it can come off and a new one can be put on. So again, so much of what we're doing is trying to, all right, hey, how's the customer going to use this thing?
Yeah.
So make sure that we're designing it around ease of use. Yeah, so we have a whole fleet of these. So all but one of them can go up, down. They can tilt the whole thing upright, lay it on its back. So yeah, they're really cool carts. Plus they enable the cell-based, because once it's on it, it'll stay on this cart all the way until it hits finish line. So it'll go from here to the next one, to the next one, to the end, and then recycle, and the cart comes back home. So that's why we have a lot of empty in the Kaizen foam right now.
Okay.
is we're running a temporary test of, hey, you know what? If we're really engineering correctly, we shouldn't need these tools here. So we've temporarily pulled them. We'll let it go for 3 or 4 weeks, make sure there isn't a need for one or more of them to come back, and then we'll put them back. So right now, all of them are over there in the bin, so they're easily accessible if they're actually needed. But if it doesn't get used for 3 weeks, we'll eliminate it. We'll redo this Kaizen foam. And again, we're eliminating the burden of having more stuff around than what we actually need to have.
The effort that they go through to really develop some tables that help on those odd ergonomic situations is really phenomenal.
Actually, the before video, living the before video, my whole day was, you know, if I try to,
You're like, what the heck?
where is this? And nothing necessarily had a home. So it was constantly asking somebody else, interrupting them. Hey, have you seen the screwdriver, this tool, or what have you? So it was just, your mind was constantly just, your whole day was just constant interruption. You know, never being able to focus and get into.
So Thad came up with these rollers. So they took some roll conveyor we bought at auction and made these individual. So each spool is on its own roller. So you can pay off of it and pay it back. And then each spool roller is on its own small pallet. So when it needs to be changed, we just tug it out. Somebody else improved and bought the bars. So the bars to actually change, to run through the middle of the spool to change it are right there, just held on magnets right where they need to be, right where the work would get done.
Okay. Brendan has really been able to squeeze all of the added value of the software. The software is pretty amazing. It gives really the standard that engineering has already set on the design, lets them interact with the shop floor and engineering to know where there's corrections and stop and fix a problem. It gives all the instructions where to put the part, what part it is, how long should the cables and what type of cables should be. Everything is in this software as a standard. And what is really amazing is anyone can come in after, let's say some operator has to leave, someone can fill them in really quick because you can exactly know where you're at every given point.
The other purpose of the Ondon is to let the help come to you, right? So we've dubbed it e-stopping somebody. So if you're in a task and you're focused on it, right? You're in flow, you're engaged, and I come up to you and I go, hey, Alex, I just now knocked you out of state. Depending on the task you're doing, I just interrupted you for anywhere from a couple minutes to 15 to 20 minutes if it was a really complex task that you had in your head, because we don't e-stop each other. And so the Ondons are a method of not e-stopping each other, right? So if he had a question about the duplicate component, he could go yellow and let the help come to him until it's at the point where he can't continue work without it.
So this is your office.
This is where you'll find me.
This is the office of the boss, right here. Looking at the whole situation. You can see every Ondon from here.
Yep. Much, much, much better resource out here. And I'm way more dialed into what's happening in the organization than, you know, my fancy corner office with nice windows that I that I built when we moved in here.
I like how you put lights for them to see correctly. They can
That's
with
all
the
they're
light.
doing of, hey, I need more light. This is what we need.
It initially started out about 120 hours, and I believe we got it down to 96, and then that last build was just right below 80 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, it's really not about myself. It's about setting up people for success so they can do these panels. So it's not about having a special skill or tribal knowledge. It's about utilizing the equipment that we can to make things accessible and sustainable.
So once it's pulled up and tilted up.
Oh,
So this one they're waiting on the enclosure for. So when they're working on it, it's much more ergonomic. So it's upright.
This goes inside that box?
So this one will go in a box that's back in CNC.
Okay, it's a different.
But this is what just showing with, hey, when it's tilted up, what does it look like? And again, it makes it easier to work on than flat.
All these.
Yep. So what would happen ordinarily would be this whole bundle and this whole mess of wires would be cut long. Would have been terminated in here, and then you have to route it plus cut it properly for the bend and the arc to look nice. So it's very, very time consuming, and frankly, it takes a lot of skill to guess and get all the wires, and it's really difficult. Where in this case, they're all terminated, left long, and then trained one at a time. So even in the middle of this bundle, there's no twisting and overlock. They're all dialed in 100% all the way through. So this is the cart that's been iterated for our finish line tasks. So we're in the process of building 3 more, because we really have this set up where ideally we can have up to 3 products in here at one time. But instead of having like all the big giant work cells that we've had that we're using right now, we're gonna build a fleet of these carts. So it's just the product they need. It's on wheels, so it can move all around the panel with them. And it has only the stuff and the material that they need and they use routinely. And again, that's one of my favorite parts of Lean is you let the people who are doing the work come up with how to fix it.
Yeah,
because they know what they need, they know what works, they know what doesn't, and then to just let them freeform iterate it. Hey, you know, next week, hey, you know what? I have a different idea. Go for it. You know, and then again, we're right. So I believe wholeheartedly, try and give the people a chance, train them, give them the investment. But if you put your heart and soul into somebody, and in 2 to 3 weeks you don't see a measurable change, it's time for that person to go. And we learned it the hard way. I had one individual that I kept probably a year longer than I should have. And once we finally made an arrangement with him and parted ways, the clear message was sent. If you don't participate, if you don't engage, if this isn't for you, you're not a bad person, but you're not a fit here. And what's amazing is once you do that, the team starts to figure out ways to not need the unicorns, right? And so many businesses are held hostage by a couple of unicorns that I know things nobody else knows, and I'm going to keep it that way, or right? It's just, you've seen the attitudes. Not that they're bad people, right? It's all a reaction of environment. But the problem is, those people are cancer within a Lean organization. The faster you weed them out, the more your Lean implementation will skyrocket. Because if somebody wants to change, I'll work with them for years if it takes it. If they're really showing me the signs that they want to do it, there's measurable progress. The people who want to say they want to change and take no action, I'm sorry, I don't have a place for you. Everybody on any team knows the performers and the non-performers, right? Whether you say it out loud or not, it's known. And the problem is the people who are performing and wanting to do it eventually become resentful of the people that aren't. And now what's happening is you're keeping the person who's not doing what you want to do, that's not holding the line, that's not trying to improve, that's not making you better, at the expense of frustrating your top people that are exactly what you want. I'm not going to invest 6 months of time in somebody that doesn't want to invest 5 minutes in the company. Right? That's really what it comes down to. Even some of our newer people that have only been here for a matter of months are some of our most engaged people already, because they want to think this way. They're freed by the environment. They're like, wow, how have I been held back at every other company I've worked at? So now that they're in an environment that supports them, they explode and blossom. And then again, the snowball going down the hill picks up more snow, right? Yeah. So now the snowball's big enough that as we pick up more people, it's getting bigger and bigger. As we add people, the culture is getting more and more in depth. But the thing that makes it happen is, from Tom Hughes, right? You change the people or change people. And it's not, hey, change the people and work with them for 6 years. If they're not a fit and you know it, it's time to go.
What is 3C?
So the predication here is it's concern, cause, and countermeasure.
Okay.
And so anytime I have a problem, what we're trying to get people is come log it.
Okay.
Right. So what's the problem? What's the cause? So why is it happening? A 5 why analysis, and then what's the countermeasure? Who's the champion? When are we going to try and have it done? And what's the status? Our lists of ideas are back here. So what we'll do periodically is go cell by cell during brainstorming portions of our morning meeting, and we'll highlight what improvements have been made already that are great, and then what are improvements that need to happen. So anything that's starred is improvements we highlighted while we were there. Hey, these are improvements that are awesome that make this area better. All the ones that don't have that are ideas that people have for a further improvement. So again, if you're completely lost and you're not sure what to improve, all you do is come here, find one that doesn't have a star, and there's 15, 20 improvements that have been brainstormed already for you if you're struggling to figure out what to work on.
Nice.
And Hagen is a great example of coming into a lean culture, what he thought about.
So Hagen's been with us about 6 weeks, six or
Yeah.
7 weeks.
Yep. But just the way how everything is uniform, custom, and easy access, obviously in the whole lean culture, and making everything so much more accessible for using, replacing, and then just cleanliness going forward, which has made my transition a lot easier with going through each cell, knowing where things are, what brings you out of the cell, things of that matter, having all the tools that I need right there has been huge because it was completely different at other warehouse.
Yeah.
Days go a lot faster here. After seeing how this runs, I mean, the amount of wasted motion that came from that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Would you go
it's
back?
just night and day. Probably not.